A Nintendo Direct has recently passed, right at the end of Summer Game Fest season. As usual, the best event was saved for last, and that's without even featuring the Switch too. The Xbox showcase did come close, I hate to admit, but the main thing it was lacking was major IPs, with the exception of Doom, Metal Gear, and COD. And no, this isn't just me being a bitter Halo fan. I'm not holding all the recent drama against them either, otherwise none of the companies would be able to achieve a W. I knew without a shadow of a doubt that Master Chief was probably too busy fucking bitches or playing Fortnite. If you ask me, Nintendo could have announced the new Mario Baseball with the amount of home runs they had. Let's analyze these home runs, as well as the strikes, which there were definitely a number of. The team must have consisted of Babe Ruth and a literal baby. First up, we have our now obligatory Mario game. It's crazy that we went almost 2 years with nothing from Mario but sports and strange crossovers, forcing people to make videos like this, and now Mario is being forced on the public more than the COVID mandates back in 2020. Okay, forced is a bit of an exaggeration. The Mario series having multiple spin-offs certainly doesn't classify it as dead, especially when you compare it to so many other Nintendo properties, like Animal Crossing, which is now going on its 3rd year without a new entry. And that's nothing compared to something like Star Fox, which is lost in the abyss. At least this new Mario game is from a spin-off series that was equally as marooned, being Mario and Luigi. It's finally resurrected after over 10 years. This game means not just the revival of the series, but also the jobs of several Alpha Dream employees who were involved despite the studio's closure. Good on Nintendo for actually giving employees jobs instead of laying them off, like literally everyone in the industry right now. As for the game itself, the biggest thing standing out is the countless original characters and species. Despite being an RPG, it's obviously not being chained to the status quo like the recent Paper Marios, so let's go. Another interesting tidbit is that Peach isn't kidnapped. She's honestly probably sad about this due to developing Stockholm Syndrome for being kidnapped so much. She's not playable though. That would have required Peach Showtime to sell more than 2 million copies. Which of course could only happen if they had Pink Gold Peach as a skin. Since I don't personally feel the nostalgia, it's only getting an A tier, but I'm happy for the fans. They know my pain waiting for Persona 6. Nintendo World Championships seems like a sleeper hit in my opinion. It's similar to Mario Bros. Mario with 35, except it doesn't have the brain-dead deadline of March 31st. Due to the game being allowed to die of natural causes instead of being executed like a Persona, B tier. Fairy Tail 2 is a title more generic than the Fortnite default skin, but you see, that was actually intentional Kubrick level symbolism of the game's content simply being a generic anime game. F tier. This also goes for another stereotypical weeb game, Romancing Saga 2, although it's slightly worse, since it was gassed up at the end like we're supposed to know what it is. Maybe I'm just out of the loop, but that's like announcing a sequel to Cory in the House on the DS and expecting people to jump for joy. Fantasian Neo Dimension is made by the creator of Final Fantasy. By creator, they must mean designer of the PS3 ones, as this game's graphics look like they released in the same year as Sonic 06. Great sign. Okay, obviously graphics don't seal a game's fate. I'm a Pokemon fan after all. But seriously, look at this. C tier. With Fantasian having even less fanfare than your average WASP, that also means there's no haters to write Twitter threads longer than the Bible about the graphics. A game that does get that treatment though is Donkey Kong Returns HD. You'd think Donkey Kong was a bull with the amount of stampedes online I've been victim to. They're not even complaints about the game only being a minor upscale like Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon is. People genuinely believe it to be a downscale. Oh wait, taking a closer look, yeah, you're right. It's just like how GTA 6's graphics were an immense devolution from GTA 1's. All jokes aside, it's great to finally see something, no matter how minor, related to Donkey Kong again. If they were willing to put effort into a remake to keep the series relevant, I think it's only a matter of time before we get an entirely original game, maybe even starring Seth Rogen. After all, it was a near-identical situation to Retro Studios' other formerly neglected child, Metroid, with the Metroid Prime remakes, followed by Metroid Prime 4. A tier. Before we move on though, I'd like to comment on the 3DS version's levels making a comeback. This is great, as it means that this game isn't necessarily restricted by having to be faithful, unlike BDSP. If you were born in the last decade, you've likely only heard of this game through ancient legend, being Metroid Prime 4. But now, it's here, going beyond legend. Forgive the Akutski level pun, but what else could the title signify? That the game is actually Prime 4 and 5 stitched together to make up for the long wait? I mean seriously, I was playing Animal Crossing New Leaf around the time of this game's announcement. That's almost 10 mainline Pokemon games released since then. At least they waited this long to formally re-announce it after it started development, so now fans can transition straight into the hype cycle. 0 to 100 real fucking quick, as opposed to going years with radio silence like Geometry Dash 2.2, which unfortunately died right after release. I have to give it S tier. Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake. Wow, what a title. Now we just need that game with Knuckles. I feel bad for parents who have to buy this for their kid's birthday. Sure, they could just ask for the new Dragon Quest, but if they're like my parents, they have to slowly read out the whole title, maybe even including the TM. Thrilled for Dragon Quest simps though, this has been rumored for a while. B tier. I would have done C, maybe even D for the minutes of screen time they spent on it. One of the best things about Directs is their extremely rapid-fire pace, so if there's a boring announcement, you don't have to idly sit through a few minutes of gameplay for a game you could give 8 rats earlobes, not even an ass, about. My attention span can't handle it. That's why I was shocked to have to observe a Christopher Judge-esque speech from the developers. They rarely do this for even their biggest games, so why Dragon Quest? They should have done this at the Game Awards, if anything, to get revenge for the wrap-it-up Zelda incident of '87. At least Zelda got to have a longer segment here as well, providing a deeper dive into a new 2D Zelda game, Echoes of Wisdom, where you actually play as Zelda. With this and Peach Showtime, maybe we're finally approaching a Birdo game or a Bowsette game. Anyways, I'm interested to see if Zelda will be a silent protagonist or not. She usually talks during other Zelda games, but Nintendo may prioritize the silent protagonist trope. If Peach Showtime was able to sell over 1 million copies, I think this can shatter 3 million easily. Fuck yeah, it can beat Street Fighter 6. The only thing that may hold it back is it being 2D, but I'm sure Tears of the Kingdom has overflown that gaping 3D Zelda hole that materialized after Breath of the Wild. As for the game's Echo gimmick, it reminds me of Odyssey's Capture gimmick with the variety of possibilities it offers. Of course, Zelda isn't actually possessing the characters and objects, but duplicating them. This could allow her to create an army of Links as her boy toy slaves, instead of just one. Best feature ever! Could you imagine if it did allow Zelda to possess things, though, and the nightmares of Zelda fused with the Bogoblin would cause? S tier. Nintendo Switch Sports is getting basketball this summer. A small part of me must have been expecting this, as I had a dream about fighting Matt from Wii Sports the night before, but I definitely still felt shock. I assumed this game had fallen off more than Drake, but apparently not, at least for a week. While I'm ecstatic to see any support at all, adding one sport isn't going to bring back a long-term player base, which is what the game desperately needs. That still feels bizarre to say. A Wii Sports game needs an active fan base? A game that kept itself relevant over 10 years later, even without life support from Nintendo? You'd think Nintendo would have learned their lesson from New Horizons and the unanimous hatred for the tiny, infrequent updates. I mean, Animal Crossing fans were ruthless. Could you blame us, though? It's not like we had any villagers to unleash our anger on, as they were drier than Granny from Granny. B tier. I can only pray that more updates are on the way, beyond something like a LeBron skin or some shit. Mio Memories in Orbit could be described as Blue Balls the game. First, it faded in from a black screen, implying something big. Then it showed something mystical and green, resembling Tears of the Kingdom. And then it showed gameplay that reminded me of Hollow Knight's Silksong, another Blue Balls game. Hopefully this game doesn't have the same experience as Silksong though, as it does look unique. A tier. Disney Illusion Island is getting a free update. I'm sure none of you remembered that from the Direct, but I swear it's so interesting. I could never forget. Wait, what was I talking about? F tier. Hello Kitty Island Adventure was said to be a timed exclusive, but it was already on mobile, so I guess Nintendo is trying to pretend mobile gaming is non-existent. Maybe that's why they ceased updating the Switch Online app faster than Battlefield 2042 lost support. Or they're just jealous that this game blows Animal Crossing Pocket Camp out of the water in every way. S tier. How does Nintendo expect Switch sports to achieve success when they themselves are flooding the market with even better sports games, such as Looney Tunes' Wacky World of Sports? Why would I play as my ugly-ass Mii wannabes when I could play as multiversus celebrity Bugs Bunny? To be honest, it's scary to think of a world where our youngest may have only heard about Bugs Bunny through this game of all things. C tier. Regardless of Innersloth already making huge waves with the Among Us show and Outer Sloth, they still decided to save their last surprise for the Nintendo Direct. I wonder if Innersloth has a favorite platform. Anyways, this last gift was none other than brand new rolls. I hope these do a better job at restoring the fanbase than the new map did. Obviously it won't reach a new peak. That's physically impossible. But new additions to the core formula should do more than a single locale. First is the tracker, who can track a crewmate with their map, essentially functioning as an alive, nerfed guardian angel. People insecure about their partners cheating will love this role. Next is the noisemaker, who sends out an alert when killed, and an imposter phantom who can turn invisible. While these have been mods for years at this point, why reinvent the wheel when you can make fan-made features official? Maybe just be careful with which mods you use. A tier. Farmagia just looks like it should be an anime instead. I usually think games are better, as they basically function as interactive movies, but the gameplay just looks like your mandated farming sim mixed with Creature Fighter, while the animated scenes look high budget and polished. For that reason, it gets a middle-of-the-road B tier. I've talked about Funko Fusion on Kiesel News, and my thoughts have not shifted. It's cool to see so many franchises technically be playable on the Switch, but I question how Funko got the rights to do this. Sure, they own the toys, but they don't own any of the IP. Regardless though, the fact that Freddy Fazbear and Jurassic World are in the same game makes it an automatic A tier. And on top of that, the gameplay actually looks fun, being a mix of open world and linear, which is my type of game. The new Denpa likes to do a little trolling, as I genuinely believed it to be Tamagotchi Life on Switch. The characters look identical to Mii's, and the gameplay is just Miitopia 2 Electric Boogaloo. I'm bewildered Nintendo didn't try to copy strike the devs as opposed to working with them. Hell, maybe they'd do the same for Power World. B tier. Luigi's Mansion 2 HD is just that, nothing more, and that's okay. Getting a port of a game like this is better than through the expansion pack. Sure, it costs more up front, but at least I'm not required to pay a monthly fee to have continuous access to it. This game, like Metroid and Donkey Kong, also likely signifies Luigi's Mansion 4 is being worked on, but they're taking their time to cook. Speaking of, how about we set it inside a ghost kitchen? They're certainly scary, according to what Mr. Beast Burger turned into. B tier. Speaking of burgers, Metal Slug Attack Reloaded is the biggest nothing burger of the presentation, so I'll just quickly deliver it to C tier and move on. I would have gone lower, but since this is a niche series, it must have a cult following behind it of some kind, like Danganronpa, that would physically build a tank from the game just to torture me with. Speaking of Danganronpa, we have my personal favorite announcement, 100 Line Last Defense Academy. I'll definitely do full coverage of this game as we discover more about it in the next 6 months, including a theory of how it could be connected to Danganronpa. Copium, I know, but I'm certainly not the only fan of that hardcore drug. For now, all we know is that it's made by the creators of Dangan and Zero, and shares even more similarities with the former than Raincode, being set in a despair-filled high school with 15 other students, having a creepy mascot, and being in a visual novel style. Oh yeah, and there's death, which the creators are more obsessed with than your average COD kid. It's not just a blatant regurgitation, though. That'd be impossible, since Spike Chunsoft isn't even involved in this game. The game's main differentiating points are the 100-day time limit and tactical combat. While I'm usually not big on tactics games, I was able to get through Persona 5 Tactica on easy mode thanks to my heavy investment in its story, so I should be able to persevere through this as well, as Kodaka has never missed with his story beats, except during Chapter 3s. Thankfully, though, this game doesn't appear to have chapters, going for the 100-day calendar instead. With this game also having free time events, I can see this calendar also functioning like Personas, giving you deadlines and set times where you can do certain things. The last bit of glazing I'll do for this game before throwing it in S tier is regarding the designs. While they definitely have the usual aesthetic, there's no characters that look like the love child of a previous character so far. Kodaka must suddenly have not liked death when he got sent tweets of people complaining about him practically canonizing Kyoko x Makoto with Yuma's design. He should know better not to mess with shippers in any community that are capable of writing fanfiction longer and more disturbing than a reality TV marathon. Phantom Brave, the Lost Hero, also gives Danganronpa vibes, but despair-inducing ones as opposed to hope, as it reminds me of Danganronpa S, the absolute rock bottom the series could go. Somehow a bigger cash grab than an EA game. Just look at the boards, they're twins. Fucking F tier just for triggering my non-flashback. The only other time I've heard of Darkest Dungeon was through that Jubilee video Find the Fake Gamer when Nala mentioned she played it. Since she carried that round and got no reward, I'll finally gift her one by putting it in C tier. I'm sorry, I can't ethically put it higher when I'm clueless about it. As for the games that are coming to the expansion pack, they're no Pokemon GBA games, but it's better than what they usually add, being a classic Metroid and Zelda and a mature 17 plus pack. Although, I question what's so adult about Turok Dinosaur Hunter. Do you fuck the dinosaurs? I figured they were saving that for the new Jurassic World. Perfect Dark is cool, but it's weird how you'll be able to play the original on one console and the new one on another. Overall rating, A tier though, especially with the potential of more 17 plus games. Marvel vs. Capcom is my teacher's most anticipated game from the Direct, which he spotted us watching in the library, and its final season right now. So as a bribe, since Ryu is my Smash Bros. Main, this is an automatic A tier. Mario Party Jamboree actually looks decent? I still stand by the fact that we don't need this many Mario Parties on one console, but trying to halt the Mario Party train is as difficult as stopping the FIFA train, so let's just focus on the good. There's Mario Karts on the board, Ninja is playable, and there's 20-player mode. That should make the gameplay way less repetitive, which is what the series needs to avoid Big Mouth or Masked Singer syndrome, where the series is only continued out of obligation. B tier for that, which may seem low, but I would have handed it a D if otherwise. Just Dance 2025 is an F- by default due to not including exclusively Drake and Kendrick tracks, clearly the musical highlight of the year. LEGO Horizon Adventures was just a copy and paste announcement from Summer Game Fest with no new info. Two can play at that game. Here's a clip of my thoughts pulled directly from my Summer Game Fest video. LEGO Horizon was the opener, which was certainly a choice. Maybe it was a last minute decision due to the game being leaked, but it didn't impress me all that much. It's evident that TT Games isn't involved, as it resembles an entirely different, less polished beast. Going from a LEGO Star Wars game with a sprawling open world and its iconic gameplay to something that looks like those old Star Wars isometric mobile games instead is disappointing. This isn't even me being a Star Wars dick rider either. I haven't even finished the Skywalker saga fully. C tier. The only reason it's not lower is simply just because it's a LEGO game. I would have been ecstatic about a Stray port back when it came out, but Yandere Dev must have been working on it, as it has decided to bless the Switch way too late. It's only around 6 hours in length, right? It shouldn't have taken this long. Good thing Nintendo recently acquired Shiver Entertainment, allowing ports to be done at a much speedier rate. This is at least a game I would consider snatching up, so A tier. I legitimately thought Tales of the Shire Lord of the Rings was a port of an old DS game. Not even just the graphics, but the overall feel of the game just makes me think of playing this as a young foolish bastard in the car to my grandma's house. This at least makes it superior to Golem, so D tier. Ace Attorney Investigations Collection finally gives me a genuine reason to use Ace Attorney images in these videos. Aside from that though, I have two major praises to sing regarding this game. For one, you can switch between the remastered style and the classic pixel style. I think more remakes should do this, especially Pokemon. If they want to be so faithful to the original, why not have an option for pixel visuals? Secondly, one of the games in this collection is getting an English release for the first time. It's always great to see more games expand their audiences. If only Yokai Watch 4 could do the same. I'm begging on my knees, Level 5. Speaking of Level 5, I believe that is the next gaming event coming up, the Level 5 Vision. So that'll likely be the next gaming event video that I do. I hope you guys enjoyed my thoughts on the Nintendo Direct. Please don't mass dislike for all my bad opinions. Thank you.